I was talked into coming out to LA to train with Rico because Randy Couture told me to come on out because he knows his stuff.
You would slip out of your shin.
And the first day I'm out here, we go to this place. It's pretty wild, man. The guy has a house behind this little janitorial store, and I walk in there and there's a cage. As soon as you walk in the door and guys are in there rolling around, and I'm like, okay, let's go, you know. It was a new experience, you know. Up in Wisconsin, you ain't got things like that. I mean, I'd have to go down to Milwaukee, and I don't even know what I'd find down there.
I was just real impressed with the competition and intrigued by the sport. And so I just thought it was something that I had to try.
Certainly there's danger in any sport, and this probably more so than others, but there's a goal and there's technique and there's skill, and it's still, you know, mastery of a sport. It's not just a brawl.
We're all martial artists ourselves with a long history in the martial arts. We believe that we're not doing anything a whole lot different that we haven't been doing in dojos for years.
It's a sport where guys that are combative athletes in wrestling, jiu-jitsu, karate, kung fu have the ability to see how good they are at their given art.
I feel that wrestling teaches you more positions than any sport that I've ever heard of. I think that favors us. I think we are able to do it under live conditions, under combative situations, more than most sports.
And it really doesn't really matter who's the best, it's the best competitor that makes it good. It isn't so much the style. It's like me being a kickboxer doesn't mean that everybody who kickboxes going to this reality fighting is going to be a great fighter. It's individual.
I'm a mother of two, and my children do come first, but it really doesn't scare me. I mean, it's excitement to me. I think it takes a special person to be a fighter, to be able to walk into a ring and do that. When I walked in there and saw this opponent I'd never met before, I didn't know anything about her, I knew her name. My thoughts were that we're both in here for one reason, and if I don't go after her with everything I have, she's going to come at me. So I knew that, hey, this is a fight.
I don't think it's any more brutal than boxing or any other sport. It's just, it's reality, you know? I'm not here to hurt nobody.
And this is a pure, you know, man on man, who's the best guy. People like that.
This will be the final bout of the evening, a bout between two great world champions. Introducing first, fighting in the red corner. He represents the Purebred Gym in Omiya. He is the Shuto World Heavyweight Champion. Put your hands together for Yamato Damachi, Ensen Inoue. And his opponent for this unlimited heavyweight division, fighting out of the blue corner. He is the Ultimate Fighting Champion, Heavyweight Champion, two-time UFC Super Bout Champion, and he's fighting out of Gersham, Oregon. Welcome to Japan, Randy the Natural Couture.
It's pretty normal growing up with my dad. I mean, just like any other father, you know. I'm very proud of him and what he does, what he's accomplished and everything, but that doesn't really enter into the home too much. Made life interesting as far as being able to watch him work and everything and go into competitions, but as far as, I don't know, he's just a normal guy like everybody else. Even though my dad is gone a lot, traveling and everything, the time that he does spend at home, and then we do have him there, it's great. I mean, he does have a strong home presence. He handles situations at the home very tactfully, very calmly and everything, and he's really just fun to be around. He's a nice person to have around. He's just all around a good guy, though. And a great dad, too.
Socks. Randy has a particular way that he folds socks. So when we first put together, I always rolled them up in a ball.
And she's like taking the socks and she's rolling them from the bottom into a ball, and then she's taking the end and she folds it over. So the sock is in this little knob.
So what he does is he puts them together and then folds them completely inside there, so they're long. So they're about this long, and then they fit in the drawer better.
Just take the sock and fold the tops inside out. There. Now they fit in the drawer nice. You can stack them in there, and that's the way I fold socks.
Get away! Get away! Get away! Get away!
A couple nurses have said to me, you know, is he violent at home? Does he hit you? You know, and it's just really funny. You know, I was like, oh, are you kidding? You know, but that's what the perception is. You know, I'm like, no, he's probably home cooking, doing the dishes, or sleeping on the couch with the pig. You know, I mean, he's not a violent man. You know, but it doesn't fit the persona that's in his fighting, obviously. He is extraordinary. I think particularly because he's interested in a lot of things, and you know, and the thing is, he is willing to try. He's a risk taker, and that's why he has so much fun.
Good job, man. Good work. Come on, get it, Randy! Watch your elbows. Lance is high up there. Go, man. Watch your right. Watch your right.
As I analyzed my career, I was so much better, competed so much better, had no negative self-talk or any kind of outside distractions when I was the underdog. When I was the guy nobody expected to win, or what nobody was looking at, it kind of freed me up to just kind of go out and take care of business and not worry about a single thing. And that's when I competed best. I felt like everybody was looking at me, and I was the guy who was supposed to win that fight, and everybody expected big things from me, and I don't think I dealt with that I guess you'd call it pressure, or being in that position where I wasn't necessarily the underdog. I was kind of the guy on top. Right from the opening bell, I felt like I was half a step behind in that fight. He came across hard, trying to land big kicks, which I dealt with. I took him right down, and then he surprised me with the amount of power he was able to generate from the mat, kicking from his back, which I'd never had anybody do, even in practice. And nobody really tried to kick me from that position, sitting on their ass, let alone kick me that hard from that position. Was kind of surprising. And the whole thing just kind of spun from there. We ended up in some situations where I was in control, here and there, landed some punches here and there, threw a headlock and actually took him down, but didn't hold him down or secure a good position very well. Completely reacted the wrong way when he went for the arm lock. It secured his head from the guard position, was thinking about landing a punch to kind of soften him up to try and pass his guard. And he pulled himself into position for the arm lock, and as soon as it happened, rather than try and climb back through it to his head and kind of stack him up and work in between his legs, I tried to pull away, which is exactly what you don't want to do. And in pulling away, made it tighter, and almost thought I was going to get out for a second. And then he kind of flopped over to his stomach and really extended the arm, and there was nothing to do but tap from there.
It's my theory, which I have no clue if it's right or not, is that, in the beginning of time there was one fighting form, and that's this. It was just all out, no rules fighting. As it gets watered down and watered down throughout the century, you see all these different sports. And this is back to the original form, which is you can use anything you want.
Mixed martial arts is a combination of boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo, and Muay Thai, kickboxing. When the UFC first started, Meyerowitz and Horry and Gracie got together and said, what would be a great pay-per-view idea? What if we put all these martial artists against each other, all these different combat sports, and let's see which one is the best. They never expected it to be such a hit, and to have the following that they did. And what they really never expected was to create a sport.
This will be a very exciting bout.
There they go. Look at that. Is it Eddie Coker? Right for the takedown.
Big good
now,
right away.
Hoist is up. And now he's trying to put the person between his guard. There goes that kick to the back, right on the...
Going right into the kidney there.
Exactly.
In the original version of the sport, there were no real restrictions. You could do pretty much anything you wanted. And consequently there were a lot of cuts. No serious injuries, but your first impression was still that it was pretty damn crazy.
When you see a guy mounted on another guy and he's dropping punches down on top of him, society tells you that's bad. If you look at the old John Wayne movies, right? John Wayne would hit a guy, stand him back up, and hit him again. That's what we've been taught in America, since it's not right to hit a man when he's down. What they don't understand is when a man is on top of another guy in our sports and he's dropping punches, you're not getting hit with the same force of a punch of two guys that are standing up and you're turning all your body weight into it. And most of the time when our guys are on top, they're throwing punches down to get a referee stoppage, but the ref's going to stop that the guy can't intelligently defend himself, or he's setting up a submission to have arms out and he's going for an arm bar, or he's trying to get a better position.
People are starting to understand that it's not two guys out there just trying to kill each other, that it's a real sport. We train very hard, and fighter safety is a huge issue. And now it's evolved so much that we feel like we're our own style. We're mixed martial artists, and there's a big camaraderie amongst all the athletes, which kind of shocks people to see guys, shaking hands and hanging out and having a good time, because we have a lot of respect for each other and the things that we train and do that not a lot of other guys can do.
You want to be able to go from one strike to the next strike in kind of a flow state. There are several options here that you can use. I can go from this position and transition to the fist strike, or I can go from the fist to the elbow. I can snap him down, knee him in the head. Once I have him on Queer Street here, I can cover him up, front headlock him. Now from here, I can continue to knee my opponent, or I can choke him up, or I can pop him back up and strike him on the other side. And take your options and kind of let things run together from one striking situation to another striking situation. From this front headlock position, I can pull my opponent all the way to the mat. And from here, I can take his back. And now I can work for a choke, or I can slide him to the side and really put some good strikes on him from this position. Or I can stay out front, make him carry my weight, and continue to knee him from here. The options are varied, and the choice is yours. Take what your opponent gives you.
I think I'm a real nice person. I mean, when I tell people what I do in my free time, nobody believes that I'm a fighter. I got started in martial arts about 4 years ago, and I saw an advertisement on TV, and so I went in the next day and signed up for a 1-month introductory offer. And I went every day. I went 6 days a week and really enjoyed it. And my instructor at the time was Carl Soriano, and he saw that I had a future as a fighter. So he got me into sparring right away as a gold belt, and I started competing in point sparring. I grew up a farm girl, so I was used to fighting. I enjoy fighting. My boyfriend is really cool. He thinks this is great. He's real proud of me. He supports me 110%. I remember when my nose got bloody, I looked over and I says, "My nose bleeding?" He shook his head yes at me and said, "Yeah, it was bleeding." So I was like, "Well, okay, it's time to return the favor."
Great athlete. I was telling her the other day that I'm very jealous of her because she is such a good athlete. I've never seen anybody who takes to sports, weight training. When she told me she wanted to start lifting weights, I started teaching her proper forms and techniques and what exercises to do. And I've never seen anyone take the style and technique as quickly as she does to do everything correctly and perfectly, being shown one time, especially with fighting. When she started fighting, I was just so proud of her. The first time she stepped in the ring, I was nervous, of course. You know, she's my girlfriend, and nobody wants to see their girlfriend get hurt. But she just stepped into the ring and executed everything so perfectly. I was just so proud. When she got done fighting, I just ran in the ring and hugged her. I could just feel tears coming over me. I was so overwhelmed that, here this woman I think is so beautiful and I love so much went 40 minutes in a fight with another woman. I mean, an all-out brawl. It was just, I don't know, I'm just very proud of her. She's just so awesome.
Like I said, I couldn't do all this without Jim. He's helped me out tremendously with my children. He's been real supportive. He backs me all the way. He encourages me when I don't feel like trying. He's like, "Vic, I know you don't feel like it, but you really need to do it. And it's going to pay off in the end." So he's a big encourager, and he pushes me when I don't think I can go on. And it seemed to pay off.
I am. I'm her biggest fan. I think I'm going to start a fan club for her, no doubt. As a matter of fact, this right here, when she got done fighting, Kevin Jacobs, who owns a Suikai studio where we both train at, he told her it was good luck for her to cut off her, what they taped her hands with before her fight. So when we cut it off, and he told her it was good luck to keep it, I went ahead and told her that I wanted to keep one and start making a scrapbook of all of her fights. There's even some of her blood right there. But it was great. But I keep this in my room just as a souvenir of her first fight. She's the greatest.
The nature of the sport is that, there are things that happen that are more violent than other sports, I suppose. And there's stuff, most of it's a lot less violent than a lot of other sports out there. What people, I think, are concerned about here in the States is, I think, culturally people don't understand that guys are hitting people when they're on the ground. This is a totally different form. So, and it encompasses a lot of different things. You can be specific in your style, and you can be dominant in one style, but you need to be open to a lot of different things, because there's guys throwing punches, there's guys throwing kicks, there's guys that know joint locks, submissions. There's, different styles, whereas wrestlers will go fall to their stomach. These guys are falling to their backs, So you have to be, in anything, especially in this sport, you have to be open to learn as much as possible about yourself, about this sport, about different techniques. And in doing that, you only become better.
Bring this leg back.
This
Bring
back.
your knee down to this knee down to the mat and the other knee up.
This
Same
knee
time,
down.
hip up.
This
That knee up, the other knee down. And hip up. Hip up.
I can't.
Straighten that leg out. You got it. Ah!
Technique is one small part of fighting. Everybody's like all worried about technique, and is it jiu-jitsu, is it karate, is it wrestling? Who cares? It's technique, and technique is a small part of it. Technique is an important part, but it's not the whole part. You can be the best technician in the world and still get your butt kicked. In fact, most of it's mental.
He's got a lot going on in his head. He has this vision of where this sport should be and where it's going, and how he fits in, and how his team, the team, all fits in, and just kind of sees the potential that is there. And he doesn't just come out and say all that, but after you're around him for a while and you hear his philosophies and things, you think, wow, this guy's got a lot going on. And then he's got that same laid-back attitude when we train. Well, don't worry about that. This is the position. Just work on the position, and you'll be great. And he's got a lot of confidence in wrestlers and the wrestler's ability, because he was a wrestler. He was an NCAA champ, and he knows the kind of training and understands where we're coming from and technically what we're capable of.
I look at the fighting from a position standpoint. It's all position. So when people ask about brutality, violence, and all that stuff, I don't even see any of it, because I'm looking at the positions. What can you do from there? Oh, you might be able to do something there, or that position there. See, when we wrestle, we wrestle for real in live situations in practice, in competitions all the time and everything. So the reactions are really split second. I can sense when a guy is moving his weight, and I have to do things. If I get into one move, I might have 10 different ways to finish it, and I got to figure that out immediately. Not just I'm not thinking about it or thinking I got to do this step to this step to that step. I think that's what a lot of guys in these other forms, they have too many steps, and ours are like, and they always think, oh, wrestlers are so quick, or wrestlers are. That's not quick. That's just what you have to do when you're actually going against somebody that knows what they're doing, I just know the wrestler's mindset too. In wrestling, wrestlers are crazy. I think I'm more nervous than anybody most of the time, just because I'm not the guy out there doing it. I know what I can do, what I'm capable of, and stuff like that. But when it's somebody else and you work with, then it gets to be, since it's not you, you worry more. I understand what some people used to tell me about coaching and stuff now.
Did you fight there? Or you fought there? What we do is not that, because we're wrestlers. We do no rules.
Oh yeah?
See those guys, you can't go to the ground. We can go to the ground. You can do whatever it takes.
To knock
them out, tap them out. Ref throws in the towel, his corner throws in the towel.
So you're the 1, 2, 3? Is that what you do?
No, that's fake. This is just reality. It's for real. It's like they'll get like a karate guy versus a wrestler, a judo guy versus a boxer, whatever. But now everybody kind of knows they have to cross-train on their styles.
Enrique's one of the most impossible models to get in touch with, because he's never there. He's always training these guys.
Rico's modeling career. I don't really know that much about it. I mean, I went to his agency for the first time with him running errands the other day when we were training. I think it's just something that he does for money. Really, he doesn't fit the mold of a model. He doesn't get all into the modeling thing. He doesn't dress the part. He looks the furthest thing and acts the furthest thing from a model.
She's in a meeting, but I thought she would take it, but she just said she'll call you right back.
When you see him in the magazines, you almost wouldn't recognize him. I seen him in the British GQ this last month, and I was like, man, is that you?
He's charismatic. The women clients love him. He's charming. He's sexy. He has a good look. It's not unusual. It's not the all-American. He has a good look. He's missed many castings because he has a black eye. So we try to make things up, or He'll tell us it's not bad, it's no big deal, you know, so that's Rico. He looks good with a black eye, but can't work for Robinsons with a black eye.
I think it was 97 or 98. Yeah, he was in Puerto Rico for the Pan Am, I don't remember what, Pan Am Championships, Pan Am Games, something, and obviously he'd been talking with Rico.
You know, we just kept calling him and say, you know, he's ready. He's ready. If somebody backs out, he's ready. And what happened is everybody backed out. There was a week left, and they called.
I was getting geared up for the Pan Am Championships in Puerto Rico, and then 2 weeks before the UFC, the end of May, some guy got hurt. They called me up. It's, you know, they'd been telling him the whole time, you know, he's ready, and I ended up getting in. So I was already on my way to Puerto Rico, like the next day, and so I was in Puerto Rico for a week, and on the way back from Puerto Rico,
he flew in from Puerto Rico to Atlanta. We met in Atlanta and trained for like 4 or 5 days, and they fought in his first fight.
You know, for me it was just wham bam. I found out about a week before he actually fought in the first UFC, so it was quite a shock.
He doesn't come out of nowhere. He's a 3-time national Greco-Roman champ. He's been a 3-time All-American for Oklahoma State in the national finals a couple of times. That's not nowhere. Most of these guys come out of nowhere. They have some made-up title from somewhere. They beat somebody somewhere in some back alley that nobody knew about. You even read some of these martial arts history books. It's like, in the mountains somewhere, somebody did this to me. It's like, please. He made the transition mentally and physically from wrestling to fighting.
the training was interesting to me because we were going to all these different little dojos and meeting all these new people, and they really had no idea what wrestling was. So not only was I bringing in all this new information that applied to fighting, but then I was in all these new places and new surroundings that were more martial art oriented than wrestling oriented. So that was kind of strange.
He was prepared. He's physically prepared. He's mentally prepared. He was pretty much technically prepared for the guys. The guys that he fought in the beginning weren't technically proficient. The one guy was a great athlete, and the one guy was just huge.
The Finnish guy really scared me because they had a big screen, and I could hear what he said. For some reason, when they interviewed Randy and the other guys, I couldn't hear what they said anyway. But him, I could hear.
When I go to the octagon and referees say, you know, let's get it on, so I go there to kill or be killed. So that's what it is. First I try to hit him as hard as I can. If I miss that one, I try to headbutt him. If I miss that one, I rip his arms off the socket or his legs off the socket. So whatever comes, I'm ready.
Our strategy going into Tony Holloman, not like we had a lot of time to prepare, but we pretty much called that fight right down to the letter. He's going to charge you, you're going to take him down, you're going to hit him once or twice, he's going to turn his back, and you're going to choke him out. And then, by God, it went down exactly like that.
Well, I was in the total redneck section, you know, so all these people with like one tooth, you know, they were all behind me. They were saying some, they were betting against Randy, basically. So I was too nervous to say anything, so I just sat there. But of course, when he was winning, I was jumping around and whatever, and they said, so, you know, do you know that guy? And I was like, yeah, you know, that's my husband. I heard your bet, and they were just like, oh. So they were, but they were funny. So they were right behind me, just, you know, yakking. I'm betting on the black boy and all this other stuff.
I had lots of fear. That was one of the first things I felt, was there was an interesting mix of adrenaline and fear involved in getting ready to go out there, preparing for the fight. Actually, the walk through the arena, you know, trying to stay calm before it was your turn to go up. You know, I didn't want to spend too much energy before the fight. I actually felt like it was an advantage fighting against a couple guys that were so much bigger, because it's been my experience in wrestling that the bigger guys just don't move as well. They're not as fast. They're not, you know, they're not as mobile, and so I felt like that was going to give me a little bit of an edge to use my speed and mobility against them and kind of stay out of harm's way. Physically, I feel real good. Mentally, it gives me a lot of confidence working with Rico. because in my mind it's a very strategic thing, these fights, and I just feel real comfortable with his approach and his outlook on who I'm fighting and how he thinks they're going to react and the situations I'm going to find myself in, and then he seems to have the answers.
When you approach a fight, like especially the Vitor Belfort fight, look at the tape. Is he good in this position? What position can I get him in? What position can I finish him in? You know, where am I going to be dominant?
I find myself in these positions, and he's able to come up with, well, this is what you need to do, and you need to keep your hips in here, and there's too much space, you know, and that's why you ended up back in the guard once you clear it, and you have to watch for this, or, you know, so I feel real comfortable technically with what's going on. And this was the same thing, you know, I basically had a week to train for my first fight, and the first 2 days I was frustrated, and I was still kind of fighting like a wrestler, you know, that didn't know anything, and each day I just felt better and better and better, and then the fight was there, and it went off. The strategy and things we came up with, I mean, you couldn't ask for better. It went off perfectly. And I feel that's that same thing coming here. You know, everything is starting to come together. I'm moving good. My defensive skills on my feet feel good. Even the striking that I've been trying to learn and stuff, that's starting to feel real comfortable to me too. So.
To an armbar. That wouldn't be advisable unless you really hit him hard.
I feel pretty confident that he's going to do well. I mean, certainly I'm biased, but I think he's going to win. He's well prepared. Physically he's talented and he's in very good shape. And mentally he's smart, and he's a veteran competitor, and I think that has a lot to do with it. He's not going to go out there and lose his head, which to me is the biggest factor. The difference between these competitors, in my opinion, they're all very talented, some more so than others, but relatively speaking, they're all good. But it's going to be who's going to be calm enough, who's going to be poised enough to execute their game plan and stick to their strategy, and I think Randall's going to do that.
Looks like they went across some of those mats over there, huh? So we'll give them
Vitor was undefeated at that time, and he hadn't gone over 2 minutes with any of the guys he'd competed with to that point. He had real fast, accurate hands, and pretty much just devastated everybody within the first 2 minutes of every fight. So everybody pretty much thought he was unstoppable.
Ladies and gentlemen, our strategy was right on. He reacted exactly how we felt he was going to react. The longer the fight went, the better it was going to be for me. He was going to be exhausted, and the pace would be high. And so, you know, I think that was right on.
How do I feel about Maurice Smith? I don't really know Maurice Smith. I thought I've only seen him fight one time. I've seen a couple of highlights from some other fights. I thought he'd played the mental game pretty well against Mark Coleman, and I thought that he pushed the right buttons and got Coleman pretty fired up, and he basically expended a lot of his energy early trying to take Maurice Smith out because of the comments that were made before the fight.
Well, the thing is, Coleman's like any other guy, a fighter, and he has one objective, just to grab me and wrestle me. That's it. Get me to the ground and punch me. I know that. I've learned his game. He has to learn my game to compete with me. He has to learn to move and how to cut the rope off or the ring off, whatever, and he can't do that. He can't learn it in a month. So my game is to stay away, stick and move, and beat him. I'm not worried about going to the ground. Like I said, that seems to be the big wrestler's thing here, going to the ground. I'm not worried about the ground. He has to worry about me striking him, and he's going to worry big.
He did a good job of protecting himself and slipping a lot of punches on the ground after Coleman had taken him down, and then he did a good job in catching back up when he knew Coleman was tired and they were on their feet, and catching back up in the fight and eventually winning. I thought that
he could have probably put Coleman away if he'd have taken a little more risk on his feet in the end of the fight when he knew his opponent was seriously hampered by fatigue. He could have taken more risk and maybe put him away, but you know, he played it a little more conservative and he won, and that was the most important thing. He did what he had to do to win. I think he's a great competitor, and I look forward to a chance to compete against him.
Randy Couture defeating Maurice Smith for the heavyweight championship of the UFC, going the distance 21 minutes. But this night ends with a new champion, Randy Couture. From the state of Oregon, a natural champion, a natural-born winner. He stole the hearts of those in Shin, Yokohama.
What I want to do is I want to lace my hand across my opponent's neck, using my radial bone on his trachea here. As my hand comes across, I want to brace my elbow on the back of my opponent's scapula or shoulder blade and lock my hands in this fashion. Now from here all I have to do is apply my hips to create the pressure on my opponent's neck to choke him out. You want to be careful when practicing this choke because it's a dangerous choke, putting pressure on your opponent's windpipe. It's a good indicator you did the choke properly.
When you train a lot and you're in the martial arts or any kind of, competitive sport, you always want to see how good you are. And I guess that's why I'm doing it, really, just to see how good I am at it.
I don't know, I just, you ask a guy why he wants to fight, and there could be a lot of answers for that, but, some of it's for confidence. To some people it's spiritual. To me it's spiritual. You're probably more alive in those few minutes that you're fighting than you probably ever will feel in all of our life. I mean, everything's really real then. It's chaos. you just have no control over anything at all.
We cover everything at a basic level and perfect that basic level so that they feel confident of what they do know. No fighter ever feels that they're ready for any fight that they're going into. They usually, and if they do say that they're ready, they feel ready, no, they usually have butterflies, and it's not always true.
Just found out fighting some Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. Don't know anything about him. I was planning to fight somebody else.
Kevin wanted us to conserve energy, so he separated us from everybody else. The lights were on, we just turned them off so we could rest and sleep, and you know, you just try not to think about anything. You just wait and rest. That's all you do.
They have a stretcher out there. It's so much stretcher.
I tell you what, man, that first or last 15 minutes, I didn't want to get in there and fight. I was scared to death, but I did it.
Get move around. Get move around. You fine with your shoes on? No? Take them off.
Can I kick with them on?
I guess that made me even more nervous because I felt like I was cold, and the only thing that I was able to do was bounce around a lot and get my blood pumping. That's about it.
You're ready when you are.
Okay. Let him move a little bit. You'll bring him out.
No, we need to get going. Yeah, he's okay.
Okay, Brian.
No, you give me 3 seconds for that fucking time.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Just mouth guard. Grab your shoulder. Never hit anything in your life before. You think about one thing. A million things go through your head. Will I win? Will I lose? Will I get hurt? Will I hurt him? You know, I guess you keep playing the fight over and over in your head, and it doesn't ever turn out anything like what you expect it to be. Well, I see about this much because your adrenaline's pumping at about 200 miles an hour. We were across the ring. He threw a kick and a real wide hook, and I backed away from those. Somehow we ended up against the cage. I don't even know how we got there. I got hit in the top of the head one time. That pissed me off, so I hit him in the back of the head like 3 times. And then I broke away. And I was screaming, "Come on." And I got kicked in the legs about 4 times. I threw a jab somewhere in between that. And as I was backing away, I fell down somehow. I don't know. I think they said he kicked me or in the leg or something. I fell down, and then the only thing I knew was getting punched in the face, getting pummeled, and I had to tap. That's about it. Shaking his hand, and then it was over. Before I knew it, I was out of the ring again and in the dressing room again.
I wanted to be there to see him come through and say something to him, but it was time for me to go out. I asked how he lost, and they told me that the guy had several punches to the head unanswered, and Brian eventually tapped. So I didn't want to be caught in that same position. I didn't want to be stuck on the bottom either, getting several blows, especially since the referee was going to be looking at that. So that's what I was thinking about when I heard that Brian had lost. Just went out there. I remember being on my back. I remember hearing the crowd. Every time I got hit, you know, they were cheering for this guy. I remember hearing Kevin and crew, my corner people. That's pretty much all I remember. Once I see the tape, maybe it'll all start coming back.
Elbows in, Joseph! Elbows in! Joseph, come on, elbows in, elbows! Come on, Randy. Let's go. Sit up. Let's go. Shoot it!
That 2 minutes. Wasn't bad. Kept moving. You look good. You look good. Dude, he was gassing on top of you, man. Sweet. Sweet. Beautiful, man. Woo!
Exciting. The whole experience was just exciting. I've never done anything like that before in my life. Even if I don't get to do it again, it's something that you always remember. I mean, it's just you against one other person, and you got, you know, thousands of people watching. It's just, I can't really describe the feeling.
After my first experience, I'd call it the most adrenalizing moment of my life. It was the scariest and the most exciting, and all in one. It was awesome. You know, I think we all got something to prove to ourselves of who we are on the inside. I'm glad we're able to test it in this fashion and not on the streets, you know, with knives and guns and stuff like that. People could do much worse than what they see in this tournament or on TV or something.
First time I won the title, I was kind of surprised that I was even there. I hadn't set out to win a UFC title. I kind of got into the fighting because it was something I wanted to try, and it just kind of took off. And the Belfort fight, which nobody thought I was going to win, and it put me in a position to win the title. And then beating Maurice, I won the title, but I was just kind of wow. You know, it was a real surprise that I hadn't set out to do that at all. It was just I wanted to try to fight. And the second time around with Kevin, I had a little different mindset. Not so much because of the Inouye fight, but just in general, as I evaluated myself as a fighter, I felt like, you know, I expected to be there. I set out, you know, I want to win the title. I was out for that. I spent a lot of time working on the guard and working on the bottom position and putting myself down there a lot to get more comfortable and kind of get more adept at fighting from there. And that ended up being the difference in the fight, in my opinion. I was able to survive the first 2 rounds when he had taken me down and couldn't really hurt me or effectively damage me. And in the 3rd round, when I took him down, he was like a dying cockroach there. He couldn't, he hadn't spent any time there. He was like a fish out of water, basically. And I was able to take advantage of him and get the mount position and land some elbows and punches to finish the fight.
And it's over. Randy Couture is the heavyweight champion again.
if you look at the first time I won the title against Maurice, I'm a lot better fighter now than I was then, and try to keep an open mind and continue to progress as a fighter and add skills and get better all the time. And I've still got a long way to go, in my opinion. At 38, I realized that I don't heal as fast as I used to, and probably not getting a lot faster. I don't think I've slowed down yet, but kind of want to go out on top and you know, build up as much as I can to take this experience into something else. Either managing some fighters. I've got a couple of young guys that are coming up that are good, I think going to be good professional fighters. Danny Henderson and I are working with. We're running a small school in Gresham, Oregon, that when we get it set up the way we want, I think it could potentially take off as well. I'd like to do some commentary and then doing a little bit of stunt work / acting type stuff.
We've taken a real grassroots approach. We're not out there trying to hit the home run. We're trying to build grassroots support for our fighters and our events.
It's on the verge of exploding, you know, just completely exploding in the U.S.
Getting into Nevada was monstrous. A lot of people thought it would never get done. We did it. People really thought it would be a long time before we were back on cable. We did it. We're noticing a lot more people are receptive to mixed martial arts. And it's going to keep knocking down walls and rolling it further and further and further.
So that's pretty exciting. I kind of feel like the fighters that are fighting now are kind of the pioneers, you know. We feel like, at least I feel kind of like we're kind of laying that groundwork.
Crank your radial across his face. It hurts.
That sucks.